Good evening. Calling to order the City of Cape Canaveral's Community Appearance Board meeting of November 16th, 2022. Anna, please call the roll.
Randy Wasserman,
Here.
Bob Neuenstadt,
Here.
Jalinda Coudrier,
Here.
Pamela Paisley,
Here.
Angela Trulop,
Here.
Elena Whitehead.
Here.
Thank you. It looks like we have a quorum sufficient to proceed. Before we do, I would like to go and introduce Ms. Pam Paisley. Thank you for being here. I know it's been quite a while since we had our last board meeting, and sometimes it can just happen. We have a significant interlude between meetings, but it's good to have you on board, and
Thank you.
look forward
Glad
to
to
working
be
with you.
here.
Next up, do you need to swear in? Do we do that for this board still? Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. I can do it. Okay. Yeah, so we just need to swear in anyone who plans to speak pursuant to the application this evening. So if you plan to do so, please raise, if you're able to, and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Okay, so looks like only a couple items on the agenda this evening. We have the approval of the meeting minutes from our last meeting, June 15th, 2022, getting on almost half a year ago now. So the members present had a chance to read the meeting from June 15th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from June 15th.
Okay, there's a motion to approve the minutes from the June 15th meeting. It's been seconded. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The meeting minutes are approved from the past meeting. So that brings us to the one order of business here, the new business for the level 2 application. This is a drive-through accessory car wash located a little bit down the road at 8101 Astronaut Boulevard. And thank you for being present, officer. Oh, no problem at all. Thank you for being here. So before we hear anything further on that, I would like to introduce Kyle Harris here, taking over as our board of planning office representative here, and have him provide a staff summary of the application.
Yes, it's nice to meet everyone. My name is Kyle Harris. I've been the senior planner for about 4 months here, replacing Brenda, who went to the Regional Planning Council. Worked at the county for a little while, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to meeting with you guys. All right, so the item tonight is pretty straightforward. It's a level 2 application. We would want it to be reviewed and for you guys to look over it, make sure it's consistent with section 2244 of the Cape Canaveral Code of Ordinances. It's for a drive-through accessory car wash located at the existing Marathon gas station at 8101 Astronaut Boulevard. Can you go to the next slide? And actually, you probably can go 2 over. Nothing so far. And if you go 1 more. All right. So here's just an aerial of the property. The drive-through is going to be essentially in the same spot as that ice machine. Next slide is a zoning map. So I'll just say this. Oh, perfect. All right. This is C1 zoning, commercial zoning. It is also located in the A1A Economic Opportunity Overlay District. A car wash is a permitted use in both C1 and the A1A Overlay District. I'm sure you all are familiar with this property, found by Columbia to the north, A1A to the east, Long Point Road to the south. It is adjacent to the city right-of-way on the west, which has a fenced-in lift station on the southern portion, and then to the north is Patriots Park as well as the community garden. The parcel is designated as flood zone X, which indicates that it's outside the 100-year flood zone. There are no jurisdictional wetlands on the property, and the project as designed will not increase the impervious surface of the parcel. If we go to the next slide. All right, so here's just a view coming from the north. The building is an 851 square foot accessory car wash on an 0.88 acre parcel. The proposed structure is 15 feet in height and includes a single lane drive-through. It does meet all the dimensional requirements for the C1 zoning district, including but not limited to the setbacks, as well as the area, impervious surface, things like that. There are certain standards that are particular to the A1A overlay district that were not necessarily looked at here because it is an accessory building. And certain standards like the orientation of the building on the parcel, things like that, are more intended for larger primary uses like hotels. However, things like landscaping were looked at, and there is a landscaping plan included. I believe it's attachment 4, and we can talk a little bit about that in a little while. You could just click to the next couple slides just to kind of give an idea of the driveway cuts and just a basic overview. So it'll be replacing that ice machine up there to the north, about I think 10 feet away from the western property line. Let's see. So this has gone through pre-application where the city engineer, as well as the director of community development, Dave Dickey, and a few others, fire and police, reviewed the application. In a bit of a switch, it actually has gone to planning and zoning already at the August 24th meeting and was approved. I think it was just because the timing and they wanted to kind of get it through. But it has been to planning and zoning. Typically, it would come here and then go to planning and zoning. However, if there are any substantive comments or changes, it would go back to planning and zoning before moving forward. Given all that, staff does recommend approval of this application. I'd be happy to try and answer any questions. And the applicant, Mr. Paul Doss of MDM Services, is also here and can answer any questions you guys have.
Thanks for that summary. Let's see. So I'm trying to remember reading through the packet here. Can you speak to the architectural components that are indeed harmonious with the surroundings and comply with the overlay district requirements?
Yeah, we did. Those were reviewed in the pre-app and then also for the planning and zoning board. As far as specifics, I don't know if the applicant, I don't want to speak to the applicant if they want to speak to that, but it does meet our code for the A1A overlay district as far as architectural features. I should also note that it is closed on the western side. I know it's close to that community garden. So there are no openings on the western side. And the site plan does show that all stormwater will be retained on site through an existing stormwater swale system. Just thought that would be important to note. And it's also a little bit south of the garden, so shade won't be an issue from the building casting shade on the garden.
Thank you. Any other board members have a question?
I have some concern. Yeah, Patriots Park, of course, is right in back of it. So it's going to kind of block the view of Patriots Park, which most people don't even realize it's there. And, you know, I'm concerned about the noise from the car wash. If you want to sit in the park and just chill, then you have the of a car wash going on. Another concern is the community garden being right there. Will it disturb them? The water, I see where the plan is to kind of go out onto Columbia Drive. Is that going to go through the community garden underneath, or is it going to miss it? It's hard to tell from the drawings. And then my other concern is such a close proximity to the beachside car wash. I mean, it's literally right on the other side of Long Point Road. I mean, 2 car washes right there. And then we all know that, not now, but FDOT is planning to change Astronaut Boulevard right there at Columbia Drive. And so I'm just wondering how it's gonna affect that with the bus stop there and everything.
Yeah, I just want to remind board members, and those are some very good points, but, things that involve like use and whatnot is really more like a planning and zoning question. So I know it might be quite, logical to see, hey, what is the business, case for a car wash here and everyone just down the street? But, we don't really, decide what people do with regards to enterprises. So I'm not saying that's a bad question. I'm just reminding the board that that's really not under our purview. And the noise really isn't actually under our purview either. They will be required to follow noise ordinances that the city has established. And I know the building department is indeed very capable of measuring noise with decibel meters and stuff. So I think you do have some concern too, though, about the view of the garden and what the impact of that is, to people. So yeah, maybe at this point, I guess, is there anything you'd like to address in those questions? And I would also like to give the applicant an opportunity to speak on behalf of the application.
Yeah, I appreciate you did a good job explaining that it is C1, car washes are permitted in C1. That's kind of what we look at as far as that goes. And then I believe there is some soundproofing. I'll let the applicant speak to this, but at planning and zoning, some of these concerns were also brought up, and I know soundproofing was mentioned, as well as the water retention. But I think maybe I don't want to say anything incorrect, so if the applicant can maybe speak to that.
I also had a concern, and I may be misreading the drawings, where the north-facing exit, where does that traffic exit to? Does it exit to Long Point? No. Long
The
Point?
north is Columbia.
Columbia, right? Yeah.
Columbia, at that narrow little corner. I just wondered if there was might be a congestion issue there, but that might not be our purview.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Can you please state your name for the record, sir?
Hello, my name is Paul Doss with Indian Services. I'm pleased to be here this evening and appreciate your time. Do you have the site plan that you could pull up on the screen?
Yes. Slide. Go, other way. I think it's the last slide.
Okay, looking at this site plan that you see on the screen now, as cars exit out, they have two options. They could go north up to, with the road name there.
Can we enlarge
Resolution's
that?
not great.
Can it enlarge a little bit?
It's really low resolution when we put it on there.
Yeah, I think it'll get blurry if you try to enlarge it.
Okay.
You should have it in the application packet. Attachment number 3 was the site plan.
But as I was saying, the cars could go north up to that street, to that intersection, and then turn out on the Astronaut, or they could make a right-hand turn as they come out of the exit and utilize the driveway just to the east of the car wash to exit out on the Astronaut Boulevard. Or they could, if they're coming back to the convenience store, they would just make a U-turn out of that car wash exit. As was mentioned earlier, P&Z and engineering has fully reviewed the project in comparison to the zoning ordinance and everything. We meet all the requirements. You had asked about one other thing. So regarding noise, if you look at the building, there's a equipment room that buffers the car wash from the property to the west. So that will aid in muffling the sound of the car wash, because it's not just a single wall there. You got a 6-foot wide room that has the equipment in it. So you have 2 walls plus the airspace there. And this is newer car wash equipment. A lot of the new equipment, if you're not familiar with it, onboard dryer, so it's not stationed right at the end of the exit where you would typically get a lot of noise projection. It's an onboard dryer that moves back and forth over the car wash, just as the car gets washed. The rollers and everything move. And it is much quieter than a lot of the older standalone dryers that used to be installed. You know, if, you know, in the event the city feels after it's built that, you know, there's a little too much noise coming out of there, I don't think that'll be the case, but if it is, there are some things that we could do to come back in, and provide some soundproofing that'll help, muffle the noise. So, you know, and we're, you know, willing to work with the city, you know, if that they deem necessary.
Could I ask you to go back a slide to see the back of the building? I think it was the one just before this.
Yeah, there are some elevations.
Okay, so this is the one I wanted to see. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
the back.
That's the back of the existing
Yeah.
convenience store, and you can see the ice house, that's the blue roof on it.
And the car wash is going right there where the blue roof
Yes,
is, Mansford
that
roof.
ice house will be removed, and the car wash is a little bit north of where that building is, but real close to the same location.
Okay. And so the ice house will be no more. You're
It'll
not
be
going to
gone.
build another one at
That
all.
is- that is good. And also, just to point out, you can see the dumpster enclosure there, a rickety wooden fence. That too is proposed to be demolished and a new trash enclosure built, and you
To
should
the-
have the building elevations.
To the west of the ice house. yep.
Yes, just to the west of that. It'll be rebuilt in the same location, but it will be nicer, and it'll have
Right.
gates on it to be closed off.
Yeah, as it should be. Do you have any plans, I don't have the landscape drawing in front of me, to beautify the back of the building, since it's going to be, you're going to have a project as it is, to make that a little bit prettier for people to look at when they're in Patriots Park, with any type of,
At this time, there are no plans to do anything with the existing convenience store. During the review with planning and zoning, we did add additional landscape at the intersection where the ID sign is, and also between the two driveways on Mount Boulevard to help enhance some of the landscape in there. But the C-store itself, the convenience store, at this time, we have no plans to do anything with that. I'm not sure if this site is slated for maybe an interior remodel in the near future. If it is, then they will probably address, you know, repainting and cleaning up the building at that time. But right now, they're just focused on the car wash addition.
so that sounds like a no then. You know, also as far as the asphalt and what that looks like, I mean, the building has been in, you know, closed down for a long time, just recently. How long has it been back opened up? Maybe about a year?
Closed
About
in
a
the
year.
pandemic for a little
So
bit,
it
maybe,
really
and-
isn't just repair. I mean, obviously it's not if you're still in it. I mean, the roof and everything is good, but I would like to see myself, it to be beautified, more in the front, and the asphalt and, the paint and something in the back for our citizens to look at. And that's my feeling on it.
At this
So
time,
I'm-
I
okay.
can't make any
Okay.
commitments for that in regards to the car wash edition, but I can, certainly, and I will, mention it to Sometime Gasoline, and let them know your concerns, and
Yeah.
and maybe they'll, and they have a good reputation for stepping up, and, you know, if
Yeah.
there is something that they can do to enhance the property, that they will. Of course, you know, it all comes down to dollars as well, but I can relay the information and see if that's something that, you know, maybe they can move forward with, do something to clean this up a little bit better. since it
Right.
is-
I think that would be a good thing to do. I think that the citizens of Cape Canaveral are deserving to have a nice, property there as people come in and enter our city, that it'd be nicer than it is right now. It's been an eyesore for many years, and I think that, it would be a good thing.
I'll
Yeah.
certainly make
Okay,
note of
thank
that,
you.
and
Yeah.
Thank you.
pass your
Yeah.
concerns along to the plan.
And this is how these things kind of happen oftentimes when there's revitalization. It will just happen and then the adjacent property will sooner or later,
Hopefully.
follow along sooner
Hopefully.
or later. But yeah, I mentioned, Mr. Doss, your interest in the car wash is separate from the gas station, right? Is that?
At this time,
Yeah,
yes, the
okay.
whole, purpose of this exercise is to remove the ice house and construct the, car wash addition, and it's, the only focus at this time for this piece of property.
So you have no interest at all in the gas station? You
Well-
don't, your company that is not, or that you're,
Well, we, as far as my company that I work with, we are a consultant for Sunshine. We do the engineering and architectural drawings for a lot of their gas stations. We do all the fuel underground storage tanks, things like that.
Mhm.
So we do get involved in a lot of that
Okay.
work. But the scope of work at this time for this property is solely the car wash and the trash enclosure.
And I think too, it's fair to make the building department can look and see if something's up to code, if the paint's peeling, if it's got, leaching on it from the roof, it looks like, because this is in a very sightly elevation, absolutely, I'd be honest with you there. But I know the building department can go and, potentially review things, and if they're not up to code,
Yeah,
make sure that they're revitalized.
And I'm not sure exactly when this, not aerial, this street view is from. But I think it's before they've come in and reopened it. But certainly we
that's
would
from
like
Long
to see-
Point.
Right,
Right.
this is from
Yeah,
Long Point.
these are, Google Street View photos you're looking at. They're not,
Right.
current photos that were, somebody went out in the field and took recently. So I'm not sure myself. I haven't been to this site. I don't know if this is what the back of the building actually looks like today. That is a Google Street View.
Well, I went after work yesterday, but it was already dark, so it was hard. It was hard to really
It
see.
gets dark pretty early right now.
Well, it's safe to say it looks pretty much like this.
Okay.
Anyway,
Oh.
I, for one, since I'm still talking here, want to know why this was approved by zoning before it came to us. Why did we get overlooked?
By planning and zoning?
Yeah, planning and zoning. Why did we
I-
get overlooked? Did you tell
Yeah,
why?
I
Or-
spoke with Dave Dickey. He did the presentation at Planning and Zoning, and I think it just had to do with timing and trying to get this pushed through relatively, because it is an accessory building. It's not a site plan that's, a hotel or something. So I think it was just timing. It worked out that way. Although if you want, I can speak to Dave in a little more detail about that.
Yeah,
You're
and
interested.
also, my understanding was that, because we had submitted, back over the summer, early summer, and, well, actually, we submitted the building permit prior to that, and part of the comment for the building permit was that we needed to, go through site plan approval process. And so we, generated and provided, the drawings and worked with planning and zoning on landscaping and so forth. But as we move forward, my understanding there was some, issues trying to get the CAB board together and enough people for a forum. And so, because I was actually, we were, even after the P and Z, I was told we probably had this hearing, back in September. And here we are in November. And I believe that was one of the reasons that they pushed the P and Z hearing, prior to the CAB. It was just, trying to get everything together, and so they had a quorum for it. But you can confirm that with David Dickey.
That's right. I think initially when you submitted, it was actually a little before my time, so I'm not sure, but I think that sounds correct with the quorum, not quite being there.
Okay, well, since that's happened, I think that this should be revisited. I think that's my opinion. I don't know how to do, I guess I could motion something, or you do that or whatever, but I'm not completely on board with this. I know that they have it's within the zoning and everything, and we're not taking that away from you, what you can do and what you can't do, but I think that a little more work on what it's going to look like, the finished project, and I know it's just the ice house that we're here today, but it does segue into the whole property. And I think it's an opportunity to have it be better for our little town. I think it's very important
Yeah.
that you know that, and that I think all of us agree on the board. That's why we're in the community. Council. And so that's how I think. And
Well, so I guess we'd either have, if you were to want to explore that further, you'd have to make a motion to table it, and I'm not sure administratively exactly what that would mean. Or you'd have to make a motion, I guess, to just disapprove it based upon, but you'd have to come up with, so, remember, we are really
Right.
primarily the subjective nature of the board and our evaluation of an application comes down to whether a proposed improvement is harmonious with the surroundings. So, yeah, it's maybe perhaps not harmonious with the surroundings because the gas station is a little dilapidated and whatnot, but it's an improvement to the existing surroundings. So I'm not really sure
well, it's a
I could carry
change.
forward a basis for denying it because it's not harmonious with the adjacent surrounding and that it's probably newer, nicer. It's got structural enhancements and elevation that make it look, more akin to what we expect the economic overlay district facilities and structures to look like. So, it would be kind of akin to saying, all right, I can't let you build this parcel because we got this old parcel right next to it that's dilapidated and needs revitalization and torn down and rebuilt. So normally when an application and a facility is disharmonious in a negative way to the surroundings, is usually, in my experience on the board here, when we have a firm basis to deny something. So,
I understand what you're
yeah,
saying.
I definitely
I get
appreciate
that.
it.
I
and-
get that.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate it, and the fact that, yeah, if if theoretically this moves forward and I guess, and car wash is put into place here, someone's gonna look at the car wash and say, gee, what's a nice car wash? And do it
Yeah,
next to an old
right.
building like that.
Right.
Um,
I think everybody's been waiting for something to be done with that property for many, 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 many years.
yeah,
And, yet it will be a new building and the car wash will be new. And you're all right, probably they'll compare it to what's there already. So I understand what we do here and that we're not building and zoning and it does fit within the zoning. So I get that. I just think that it could be better and you could do better for the community. And that's just my thoughts. So,
Randy, is there a slide? I noticed in the packet it said that there was a colored elevation, and I
I-
didn't have that in my
that
packet.
was
Is
a
there a
question.
slide of that?
yeah, I hadn't gotten to that yet. I did want to give Mr. Goss an opportunity to discuss the architectural components of the facility or the car wash.
Yeah, let me hand these out to you. For some reason, the PDF didn't have the color, so I have these elevations that I'll hand out to you.
Y- To piggyback on Jolinda's point, I think are the two buildings eventually going to be integrated into one whole architecturally or painted whole? Or, that would go a long way to make it integrated onto that site.
Yeah, I understand that, and I think, the most we can do is hope that, I think as Mr. Doss said, from a corporate perspective, in terms of what kind of capital investment the gas station wants, the gas company or company wants to make
Yeah.
in the main building, I think I would definitely encourage it.
Yeah.
I would definitely encourage it, but I'm not sure we could deny the application based upon the fact that what is intended in the application, to me, is more pleasing probably to the eye than the adjacent structure.
Yeah, and I just want to say,
Right.
it is more focused. I completely agree with you and understand what you're saying, but it is more focused specifically on this car wash. And then, like you were saying, I think that the improvement here could kind of domino effect, improve the rest of the parcel. And it is, the landscaping is going to improve. It is going to be a nice change for that parcel.
in the front,
Yes.
in the front.
Correct.
Right. Can we look at the landscape drawings? If they,
Yes, that should be in your packet, attachment 4.
can you put that up there?
Right.
It's in the PDF.
If I, would you do that?
I'm trying to remember on that property, is that, they didn't re-asphalt that property anytime in the, I mean, I remember before it was,
Well,
potholes
most of
and
that
stuff.
out there, I believe is concrete, there is some asphalt. but
Yeah.
the majority of it is concrete.
It's not in very good shape. I walk that way all the time, and even the asphalt patches are coming up. I mean, that all needs to be redone. It's in bad shape.
So, yeah, that's kind of a commentary now,
yeah.
again, it's not under
They'll
the
redo
purview of the
that.
board, that way the building department would have to make sure that
Yeah.
there's something they can do before they get out there. But yeah,
And that would be building, but it's also an aesthetic, issue. Yeah.
And I think part of our plans, at least for the asphalt area by the car wash, is noted to be, I think, patched and seal coated. I think we do have that taken care of, in our engineering plans. It may or may not be called up on a site plan that's up there, because I can't really read what's up on the screen.
I envision what that's going to look like. The car wash is, let me look at my notes here. It, 15 feet in height, correct? 851 square feet,
Yeah.
right? 15 feet in height, and what was the length and width?
The overall building is, I don't recall the exact measurement, but I believe it's roughly 23 feet by, maybe 34, something like that.
37.
37.
And are there any photos of what it's going to actually look like from the community garden from, Patriots Park?
The elevations, the colored elevations should have all 4 sides.
I mean, like if you're sitting in the park or you're on top of that big, huge, beautiful oak tree in that park, can you see what you're going to be looking at?
Yeah, it'll be this,
it'll be this,
it'll be the back of the building.
without any
That's
windows.
just the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the western
Yeah.
exposure elevation.
And then to the west of that is the trash bin that you're going to be improving and redoing.
Southwest of the car wash entrance. is
Right,
where the
west,
trash-
yeah.
trash
okay.
can goes through. And the paint colors are the same as what the existing building is painted.
Mhm.
So that will blend as far as the colors go. The car wash has a flat roof with a metal fascia on it, which is, will blend with the gas canopy, has a fascia on it and the flat roof. I know the building has a slope roof with asphalt shingles, but the car wash does tie to the gas canopy as far as the design goes.
Thanks, yep, and I do see, there are some, vertical elements to the building that, make it look other than just a box, with a, so, and the stucco looks like it's a couple different colors, right?
Yes, and I do have some stucco color samples here, if anybody wants to see them up close. I could bring those up.
Yeah, we are having a slight, our computers are moving very slowly, so I apologize. Trying to bring up the landscape plan in more detail.
Well, I'm, glad that they're putting some landscaping and some trees in, but kind of,
Could run back and get the full set plan and kind of pass them around.
Or is it possible maybe to just describe what landscaping you have intended? Maybe see if that doesn't pass muster.
Yeah. So it is in the attachment, but it's just not very readable. Is that the issue?
On if we can go back to the street views and pull up the street view that shows where the ID sign is. And I can try to explain that area and what we're doing, and you can see what's there. Those, right, in this photo here, between the two driveways on Astronaut, there's like, I think 4 palm trees there now. Those will remain, and we're enhancing with some shrubbery. Don't recall off the top of my head if there's additional trees being added there. But further south at the intersection, I think that's Longwood down there where the identification sign and price sign is. We are adding quite a few trees and shrubbery and flowers, ground cover and stuff to really enhance that area there. And the landscape island between the driveways will get some shrubbery as well. So it's, we have, whatever that the planning and zoning could ask us to do landscape wise, we've done.
So in the pre-application meeting, that also included, within Dave Dickey, fire, police, the engineer. And so it would have been Dave would have harped on that landscaping. It would have had to meet our code.
So is that existing fence along the edge of the park, is that city? Is that a city fence, or is that, you know, if that's?
Yeah, I think it's on the other, right on the other side of his property, so I believe that is city fence.
Okay.
Will there be any landscaping? It doesn't look like it, north of the bus stop shelter?
No, we have not provided anything there, and planning and zoning didn't ask us to provide anything at that location. And you can see that by this photo, that's a very narrow grass strip there. I mean, something could be planted there, I suppose, but it is a very narrow grass strip.
Might soften the patchy asphalt that burns people.
I realize this is your property, to do within, the bounds of the zoning, and that you've done everything that you're supposed to do, and that it's been approved. I guess we're just a little saddened that it's still going to basically look like the same rundown place, although it will have a new car wash. So, it's just that, I think that's where we're at right now. It's just, this is just a little bit of an emotional, I think, property here. And we were hoping for maybe this would be an opportunity to do more with it, but I understand what y'all are trying to do. And so,
Yeah, and I can empathize with a lot of what you said there, but yeah, I know, in seeing the overlay district unfold since its inception and my 15 plus years on the board here, if I looked at that A1A corridor and how it looked 15 years ago compared to how it looks now, you wouldn't recognize it hardly. So, it's kind of an accretion, and we have to ask ourselves, is it an accretion to conform more to what we have in our vision for the economic overlay that we'd like our city to look like? We can't dictate what people do with the businesses and the property that they have, but, we can at least be a positive factor in helping things to get better one chunk or bite or nibble at a time. Do we have any other questions for Mr. Dahl?
So you're not asking for any variances of any kind, is that correct?
No, we haven't.
I do have a request to speak from a Mr. Don. There's not a Mr. Don Willis present, is there?
He's on our council.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I thought he left. Okay. No, no, and I thought these cards used to say whether you're in support or neutral or not in support of an application, but it looks like there's nothing to that effect here, so. Did you know if I'm remiss in not giving him an opportunity to speak, you know, if he's gonna be back at all, or? Okay. Yes, Mr. Davis?
I would like to make a comment, and I apologize for being tardy. I was up in the city manager's office. Yeah, when this project was submitted, and I don't have the benefit of the board, all of the board's discussions, so I apologize again. But that was one of my first reactions, is that this is going to be an opportunity to gussy up this site to a certain degree. And actually, I called and talked to Paul and asked him to, because the initial submittal didn't have any of the landscaping on it. The landscaping that you see on the south side, on the south property line, and then it kind of have it wraps around and on that island median, right there on A1A. And so that was something that we requested, and they happily provided. And the overlay district does call for some of this type of work. And so it's an interesting situation, because you know, if it was new construction, that would be one thing. We could implement all of the overlay district standards. With a redevelopment of this nature, you know, it's frankly, there's some, it's a little bit gray on how deep we can get into implementing standards in the overlay district on a redevelopment project. But the board certainly has the opportunity to say, you know what, we don't feel like this is enough. We'd like to see some more, and this is where we would like to see it. That's something this board has the ability and the authority to do. Again, I apologize if you've already had this conversation, but I just wanted to make sure the board was aware of that that's within your purview to make those calls. And
But
the
it's already
applicant,
been approved. we're here after the effect.
No,
no? Oh.
the only thing that's been approved, the site plan's been approved by the Planning and Zoning Board. But I put the applicant on notice, as well as the Planning and Zoning Board, that should the Community Appearance Board make changes to the site plan that would necessitate the site plan going back through the process, that would have to happen. Now, depending on the nature of the change that this board considers, it may or may not have to go back through the process. If it's I'll call it a non-material change, if it's not a substantial change to the site plan, we can handle that administratively. We wouldn't have to go back through the entire process and spend all that time doing that. So it really depends on the nature and the scope of what this board would like to see changed on the site plan.
So I guess, does anyone have any questions with regards to what's been explained so far with respect to the proposed landscaping enhancements?
I have a question. Are we allowed to ask them to repair the asphalt, or is that not within our realm of responsibility?
Are you allowed to ask what?
The
to
surface,
To repair the asphalt?
Yeah,
yeah,
it's unattractive and possibly dangerous over by, not the site that they're building on now, but the adjacent property. Or I guess it's part of the same. Yeah.
Are you talking about the foreground here with the mixed asphalt and concrete?
Yeah. All the way down. I mean, it's bad even on the other side of that, the part that's not being worked on. But are we even allowed to discuss that part? It sounds like we are in terms of landscaping. Can we talk about that surface area that's mostly cement but has some asphalt patches? Or is that,
I think the issue about the maintenance of asphalt, we can deal with our existing codes.
okay.
I don't think that's really in the purview of this
Right,
board, but we do have codes that we can go out and say, hey, Mr. Property Owner, you're not meeting this section of
Right.
code. Therefore, through our code enforcement process, we can encourage a property owner to bring it up to a certain standard, a code standard. So we'll make a note of that. I'll talk to code enforcement, and we'll have a conversation with Paul about, we'll go out there and probably meet him on site and take a look at that and see if, because really the important thing about the pervious surface on a site like this is the stormwater. Is it functioning properly? And once it starts breaking up and quickly becomes, doesn't function properly and it becomes very unsightly. There's an aesthetic nature to this as well. So I'll commit to you that staff will go out and take a look at that and we'll do what we can do to get this back up to code.
Yeah, so that's similar, that's kind of similar to, I think, when we were looking at the southern elevation of the existing gas station building, knowing it's not really a part of the application, but it's an adjacent property. And, it looked like in a little bit of disrepair, maybe some paint peeling, and, that would be something too that the code department can go look and,
We'll look at the entire piece of property.
Yep. So, in terms of landscaping, is there any, Pam, did you make a recommendation for this narrow strip between the sidewalk
That
and
may
the?
be a narrow strip, but you could do grasses along there. I think like the work Zach has done with muley and Fakahatchee grass and all of those lovely grasses that billow will take your eye off the site. And I think that would be a good thing throughout there. I don't really have any objections to what is planned up here. I wondered if it was a little dense in the landscaping. There, with the two eliocarpuses, they'll get really big. And then the Ilex vomitoria underneath, and then it just seemed like crammed together and potentially a weed nightmare.
So just when you said that you don't have an issue with what's been proposed here, I think you pointed to the screen. Where were you pointing? I just wanted to make sure.
Here, this.
Up here where the
Oh, the existing
palms
right?
are, they
Okay.
want to stick a couple of eliocarpus in between there, if I'm reading this correctly. And then some little podocarpus, and then some Ilex vomitoria. I'm not sure that it means anything.
They're doing a lot of stuff there and nothing here.
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
back.
It'd be nice to
Nothing in
maybe,
the-
Yeah, let's-
yeah.
By Patriots Park. Right. In the back of the building.
So what would you recommend that, because I can I understand, yeah, it's just kind of a narrow strip along the sidewalk there, but I'm not sure really if you could,
I'm not
do
sure
a
that's-
lot with that
I'm
one
not sure
little
that's
strip.
what she's looking at. Are you looking at the
Is-
strip in front of?
in kind of, there's the bend in the sidewalk. And
Yeah.
there's that strip, I believe that is where they're talking about
Yeah.
right.
adding those.
Yeah.
But, and then I'm thinking maybe
Oh, you're right.
grasses.
Here.
So it's a strip from the bus stop.
Right.
Yeah,
Going
from the
north.
bus stop
Yeah.
down.
What would you recommend? I probably am not as informed about landscaping as you are, just because.
Muley grasses are lovely, tall, not too tall to impede visibility, but you see them used all over on Ridgewood.
Ridgewood.
Tons of them, and they're pretty, and they're not expensive, and they're not a maintenance nightmare,
And they're pretty hardy, because this
and
could
they're
be,
very hard.
they're very hardy, because this could, people, I've ridden my bike all along these sidewalks, and, you meet somebody else, and you turn off, and you ride on the grass for a little bit, and then you come back on the sidewalk, and so.
The other thing I'm thinking is, and this is my personal opinion, I don't like to see a whole mash of different plants. I like to see sort of masses of single plants. So you're getting a broader, scopier look of the same plant. and It takes your eye away or far. But when you start putting in lots of different plants, your eye is sort of going like, what am I looking at here? So that's my thought on that, on the landscaping. A little confusing, trying to use the existing cabbage palms and things like that. That's fine. I like that, but I'm not sure we need more big trees, and eliocarpus will get big.
So, yeah, I can definitely appreciate that, but I think that maybe that those might have been added subsequent to some of the planning and zoning recommendations, that there would be some, I think, landscaping enhancements, right? If I remember you mentioning that.
Well, that was early on. I think we did that before the planning and zoning board. I know when, even
Okay.
before we sent it to P and Z, I made that comment to Paul, and those changes were made. Can I ask a quick question, Mr.
Yeah,
Mr.
absolutely.
Chairman? Paul, do you know, is that grass strip that we're talking about, it's like maybe a foot or two in width, is that in the DOT right of way, or is that outside the right of way?
Well, if we put the site plan back up, maybe we can tell by looking at that, just how much of that grass is on the property and how much is in the right of way.
Can't zoom in on that. Mr. Chairman, can I make a recommendation? That I think we're getting a sense from the board what you're looking for and what you're after. Maybe some increased landscaping efforts on the north end of the site to break up the expanse of concrete and asphalt. And I also heard that the interest would be, rather than to have linear landscaping, maybe bunch it and mass it, which is encouraged and allowed in our overlay district language. So I would definitely agree with that. So, obviously, we're not going to redesign and landscape and come up with a new landscape plan here tonight.
Yeah.
So the board has a couple of options. You can either say, you know what, go back and fix it and bring it back to us next month. That's an option for the board. Or the board can say, you know what, Dave, we think you have a sense of what we're looking for. We're going to approve it, and you go back and work with the applicant and redo the landscaping plan to meet the desires of the board. So totally up to you, however you want to handle it. We're here to help you out.
No, thanks. Yeah, and I was just gonna say, if my first choice would be, to allow you to work concurrently with the, applicant as they're trying to, work through other matters, in terms of taking this forward, rather than kind of putting a hard stop to it. And I've never been disappointed by, the building department's ability to implement and address kind of changes that have been brought by the board as we've deliberated. So based on that, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we approve the application here for the car wash at 8101 Astronaut Boulevard with the condition that the building department does work with the applicant and reconsider the current landscape plan to see if there's potential for enhancements, especially those that have been voiced here this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is there anything above and beyond those two items that I've mentioned? So I have make sure I'm incorporating all the board's concerns,
I just wanna make sure-
massing, and then having some additional landscaping on the north end of the.
Let me just, hold on a second. There is a motion on the floor, so I want to make sure. Do I hear a second for that motion before we deliberate further? Thank you, Ron. Okay, sorry, please.
You're correct.
You know what I love? There's an area across the street that has been redesigned and re-landscaped, and it's sort of like a trail. If you can do that there, it would take your eye, sort of like stringing the pearls together, that kind of look to carry through, I think would improve the site tremendously. Go take a look at it. It's pretty. All right, great.
Yeah, I think, we're free to consult with the city on things of, making sure what we present here is, if needs to be clarified in action, we can go ahead and be free to do that.
One last comment is that we'll definitely, the next time that this board meets, if this motion passes, we'll certainly come back and report to the board what decision was made. We'll provide you with an updated site plan showing exactly what we came up with. Yeah, we're going to certainly keep you in the loop if the motion passes.
Appreciate that, Dave. All right, so there's been a motion, it's been seconded. Any additional questions, comments from the board members?
Well, I want to say that, so here we are, and this is an issue of trust. Trust, and also, you know, when we discussed it, you know, before, you said you would take it to them. However, it wasn't in the plans, in the financial plans or in, so we're trusting you and you to get together and come up with something. And I know that you are trustworthy person. And I'm hoping that you are. I don't know you. I know David. So I just want to, this is a big thing because this was a very emotional discussion that we're having here. So we are,
Well, I
Okay.
can promise you, Jalinda, that if we're unable to come to a meeting of the minds, we're not, we'll come back to the board before we make any decisions. Okay, so it's not like, oh, they refuse to do it and we're just, okay, well then do whatever you want to do. That's not gonna happen. We'll bring it back here if we're unable to move forward with it based on the board's wishes. What we're hearing. Thank you.
And I can give you my word that we'll work with David to address the landscaping issues and try to resolve this. And I do see on the site plan that the majority of that green strip by the bus stop is in the right of way. There's a very narrow sliver of it that's on the property, but we may be able to still, we can look at that, and as long as it don't interfere with traffic flow, maybe we can cut a little bit of that concrete asphalt out and widen it out for you.
Yeah.
So we can fence something out.
That
I
was,
will work with David and we will address the landscaping and everything. So,
Yeah.
Can the city do it then, if it's owned by the city and it's in a right-of-way?
State, right?
it's, the issue is this is state right away. So, and they are very persnickety about their right of way.
The city knows all too well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, any additional questions from the audience? Anyone else present? Anna, please call the roll.
Andy Roxroy,
4.
Bob Manstadt, Yolanda Coudrier,
or
Pamela Paisley, Angela Trulock, Elena Whitehead.
Thank you, Anna. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Strauss, for being here and addressing all of our questions and working with Dave and the building department moving forward on this project. I'm really confident that you'll be able to do that concurrently with, you know, taking this to the next steps and beyond and bringing it to fruition. So,
I thank the board for your time and appreciate it. Go back to Sunshine with asking them if they can maybe put fresh paint and clean up the convenience store, if there was, you know, on all 4 sides. I believe the front does look better than the back.
It does.
And I'm not sure how old that Google Street View was, so the back may not look as bad today, but I will discuss that with them and see if when they're out there doing the work, if they can enhance that building a little bit for us. Clean it up.
thank you.
thank you.
Would it help you to have these back at all? I'm not sure. Or these were the building departments, I
Yeah,
think, right?
you all can keep those.
Okay. Okay, I don't think I need mine. All right, so that brings us to the close of the new business. Sorry. You know, oh, you have a
I
question?
forgot to ask, is there going to be any signage on this building? Or is it just going to be integrated into the marathon? Good. I hope there's not.
Other than entrance and exit, at this time, and signage is, you know, separate permit is required. So if, you know, the only other thing that possibly would go up there, maybe the word car wash, if we can know what it is, but it's pretty obvious when you drive by it. So, at this time, other than what we show on our exterior elevations there now, it is other plan at this point in time.
Entrance or enter and exit only. So, okay, yep. All right, anything to report, Dave, Kyle? future development, anything exciting coming on the pipe?
Well-
What's happening with the elbow of A1A and the latest there?
That's I don't know, you probably know as much. It's, we are actually, there is going to be a presentation or a discussion item at the December 6th council meeting. Thank you, Paul. Call me whenever. Talking about A1A. As the board, I'm sure knows, the roundabout is a thing of the past.
Right.
And the next issue that the council is going to have to decide on is, there's two proposed, I'll call them alignments. And the alignments vary by whether they have bike paths on both sides, whether they have a raised median between, separating the north and south. So it's a little bit of a design difference between the two proposals. So the council is going to discuss those on December 6th. If you'd like to see the different proposals, I believe there's going to be graphics, part of the December 6th agenda, council agenda, which you can get to through the city council, through the city website. So, that's an interesting project. But hotels are going gangbuster. I know people love them and hate them. Just as an FYI, and I can talk about this because there are submittals now, not official applications, but we had a development review committee, which is a group of staff from the various review departments. We had a DRC meeting with the property owner of the Radisson site 2 weeks ago, approximately, and he's proposing a significant addition to that site. Several hotels. I'm not going to get into all the details because it may change, but that'll be in front of this board. So prepare to have some very interesting conversations about that site.
I did notice it looks like the whole front section of the Radisson is torn up and being redeveloped, I guess. In a large part.
They're doing the complete new landscaping of it. It should look really, really nice when they get done with it. They're also putting in underground stormwater vaults. So right now, it just runs off into the DOT right away. They're going to be putting in some stormwater vaults to capture some of the stormwater and have a little bit of treatment before it gets into the stormwater system. So that's a good thing. And let's see. No, it's
What about that site? Is it called Wave?
Wave Village.
Yeah, Wave Village. What's
Wow, that's
happening there?
That's what I was upstairs meeting about. Good timing. I talked to the owner within the last week. He is now has an architect on board. He's got a general contractor on board. They are in the process of preparing plans, and they are bringing it home. So we probably won't see any construction for a year or so because they have to go through all the design and engineering and permitting, which can take a while because DOT is involved, St. John's River Water Management District's involved. So some of these state agencies they're not quite as responsive. But so we probably won't see anything for a year or so. But the project is alive and well and moving forward. Where was that one again? It's right there by Beach Wave,
Okay.
Zarella's,
Yep.
on the corner.
That's
Corner.
going to be the mix. It'll be like a long-term stay /
Yeah.
apartment. Okay.
First
yeah.
floor retail office.
Yep.
2 through 5. Kind of a residential feel to it.
Yeah, kind of like a mixed use a little bit.
Yeah.
Commercial.
Yeah.
Premium coffee shop.
I will say this too, that the assisted living facility right behind that site looks like it might be dead. That property was foreclosed on.
Oh.
So the owner doesn't own it anymore. Actually, that doesn't make sense, does it? The previous owner that was proposing the assisted living facility doesn't own it anymore.
Yeah, I remember that kept coming here for a couple of years
Yep.
to get reapproved. And there's this, and again, we don't judge use, but with the evacuation potentially of the
Yep.
barrier islands, it's hard to have an assisted facility, like that.
And they're looking at potentially more of a higher density multifamily project. They call them Class A or I'm not going to call them upscale, but for Cape Canaveral will probably be upscale. So we'll see. But we are starting to get a lot of that type interest in Cape Canaveral. And so just the market pressures are starting to be felt by the city. And it'll be interesting to see what comes of it all. These boards, obviously, and the city council will be involved. And it'll be interesting.
Yep, yeah, well, it's it's only so much land, and it's nice to live on a barrier island, or, have an opportunity to have an apartment or a condominium here, so it's pretty high, pretty good demand, and as you know, there's only a certain height that can be built to. So we don't turn into what you do when you drive down A1A in South Florida, in Miami-Dade, Broward County.
I hope we never get there.
No.
Personal
Well,
opinion. But.
Yeah, we need a mess load of variances to get there, so, yeah. All right, so do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Well, I just have a
Oh,
comment.
please, yeah.
No, has anyone seen the sculpture at the library?
No, I haven't been over there yet.
It's been there for a while now, and it's absolutely beautiful. I did ask, in the library, had they gotten any comments about it? And they said, actually, yes, people are loving it. And they were wondering if they could get a card telling about who did it, the sculpture itself, because people are very interested in it. It does look beautiful out there.
Yeah, no, and I've seen sometimes where there's a little plaque, that's out of the way and doesn't detract at all from the art, it explains the artist and when it was done and what it's supposed to represent.
Yeah.
So that might be nice.
Oh, well, they do love it, yeah. I talked with Tina at the library, and she's the one who said, can you get us a card or something that we can pass out? So, and my other question is, do we have any idea what they're gonna do for Christmas decorations around here? Same as last year?
Was it blue and white theme last year? I remember.
Was nuts. They had the reindeer and stuff in the front of the building, which to me is the back of the building. If you're coming down the street, it was nothing. Some light, just,
Did they have was it green and red lights that would change? I can't remember what it was.
That's all there
It was
was.
definitely not your, 1,000 flashing lights.
Nope.
See, it was-
So I was just wondering if
it
they
was
have
something
anything,
new. But, yeah.
since we have a beautiful, we have the new building, we have everything coming up. I'm just curious. We work it during the holidays. The roadside, yeah.
Well, Angela, in my humble opinion, you have full limited authority to do everything before you. No, good. Those are good questions. And I know, one of the ideas, that the overlay district does try to foster is to have, instead of, a road full of parking lots that go along the side of it, and then a building set really far back, the idea was to kind of make it more walkable. That's why the building is so much closer to the sidewalk and the parking lots are behind. And that's kind of what the city is trying to foster as it continues to develop in that district. So,
I just picture the beautiful palm trees, wrapped in lights and. Sorry, it's just like,
Yeah.
the holidays are coming up.
It's
Can we
the-
make it look a little better?
It's the Christmas in Florida thing, right?
Yeah,
There's nothing-
exactly.
Nothing shows that off better than a palm tree
Than
wrapped in
palm
Christmas
trees.
lights. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the policeman have died corona. All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
1 second.
All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.